This is a debate which is marked by the interest of a number of bodies. I will declare my own interest that I'm both a member of National Trust, who have a great many trees in the Stroud constituency, and also the Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust, who also have trees. But I am indebted to the Woodland Trust, who also have trees in the Stroud constituency, and Comfor, who do a marvellous job. Good to see the chair of the all-party group here. They do a marvellous job in making sure that that group functions very efficiently and, dare I say, effectively. And that's why, of course, we are here discussing trees today. Now, I owe much of my knowledge of forestry to a dear late friend, John Workman, who, in all stretches of the imagination, would be described as a forester. He was such a good advocate of forestry. He was a single gentleman that he bequeathed all his woodlands to the National Trust. And now the Ebworth estate, if anyone knows Stroud, is a wonderful centre where the woodlands around it are crucial to the way in which Stroud, as a constituency, lives, breathes, and, dare I say, functions. His dream was always that there would be a ring of trees all the way around the centre of Stroud so that you could walk round without ever leaving the woodland. That hasn't quite come to pass because there are certain private woodland owners who haven't yet agreed to full access. So I will say to the Minister, it would be interesting to see how the way in which the new structure of farm payments will encourage woodland owners with sensibility to make sure that there is proper access so people can walk round. Now, I just want to concentrate very quickly in the few minutes I've got left on three areas, some of which have been highlighted already, but I just want to get the Minister to understand where perhaps there is a need for some more detail, both in terms of the response to the Select Committee report, but more particularly with today's 24 Environment Plan. I mean, the first is clearly this issue of how we get to the 12% by 2060. This isn't clearly spelt out either in the response, but more particularly today. We do need detail of how that is going to be achieved. A lot on aspiration, but much less on detail. And to be fair, those with knowledge in the industry are more than a little sceptical of where the detail will come from. Secondly, there's the issue of woodland management, and particularly, as a number of honourable members have said, how we protect our ancient woodlands. There is a need to lay down very clearly what the criteria are, both in terms of the planning system, and I'm aware that's not the Minister's responsibility, but they will have to talk to HCLG, or whatever we now call it, in terms of where we will want to protect certain woodlands, and that would mean that we are not able to either see development for whatever reason. The issue of specific interest to me is, how does this all relate to climate change? I mean, again, I haven't had the opportunity to read the 25-year plan in detail, but I'm a bit worried that carbon capture, the way in which woodlands are seen as part of the way in which we can deal with climate change, isn't maybe as clearly spelt out as it could and should be. So if the Minister would say some things about how management, in terms of protection, but also the way in which we want to grow more trees, how that will be achieved, that would be very useful. And then lastly, again, as the Chair of the Select Committee said, or intimated, the grant system is more than a little messy at the moment. The countryside stewardship is dated in the way in which it approaches woodlands. The reality of this is we have to make it clear that it's not just the big answers, but it's the small copses, it's the areas around where I live, the market towns, where we've got to give landowners, including housing developers, the opportunity to come up with innovative schemes. Now, two other people I just would mention in passing, because it is apposite to this. It just happens to be a constituent of mine, but John Parker, who's the head of trees at London Transport, has taught me a few things about how you need to look at tree surgery, which we haven't really touched on, the way in which we maintain urban trees as well as trees in the countryside. And that's very interesting because we mustn't see urban trees as negligible. They are part of the solution. We need more trees in the urban setting. And also Chris Utley, who by chance has been leading a project which is about trying to keep the water upstream so we have less flooding in towns like Stroud. Part of that is about sensitive planting of trees. They are important to me locally, but they have part of the solution of how we could find a way forward, both in terms of dealing with climate change, but also flooding and the way that we need to keep our natural environment alongside our built environment. So I look forward to hearing from the Minister, because she's going to provide all the detail now she's back in office.